Hi, my name's Erin. I'm a mom, a nurse, and an educator. And I'm here today to talk to you about how important it is to have the end of life conversation with your family before you can't have it. When my grandma was little, they talked about death so much more fluidly and commonly, kind of just at the dinner table. It was just sort of a conversation. And I think we've really lost something in our culture and society by not being able to have that conversation so easily. We have to stop running away from it. My background as a nurse is as a trauma ICU nurse. So I saw death on a very regular basis. And it was often traumatic and very difficult and hard for the families, which you would expect. But a lot of the trauma and the difficulty came from things that we could have fixed, conversations we could have had before we got to those moments when decisions had to be made. One family case in point was this lovely 80-year-old couple who had probably been married for 60 years or so. And the gentleman was on the ventilator, sick, unable to discuss his wishes, and for all intents and purposes was dying in front of our eyes. And we weren't going to be able to stop that. And I asked his wife, who was sitting in a hard, cold recliner in an ICU where there's alarms and beeps and all these noises and sounds going on. She probably hadn't eaten a good meal in 24 hours. It's 2 or 3 in the morning. And I asked her, do you know what his wishes were or are? And she said, well, it came on so suddenly, we never had time to talk. And in that 60 years of marriage and that 80 years of living, they had never had the discussion of what they wanted to happen when the end came near and where their priorities were and what their thoughts were. And so not only did she lose her husband that day, but she had to go home with the guilt of not knowing if she followed what he wanted or not. And I'm sure she did an amazing job of following his wishes or what she thought they were, but she will never know. And so that guilt, which is such a worthless emotion, causes so much more pain. On the other hand, I had a mother who was 65 years old have a massive stroke, and she was not going to survive it. But her end of life, while unexpected and sad, the trauma wasn't there as much, the pain, the sharpness, because she had told her daughters and family what she wanted to live. She didn't want to be on a ventilator. She didn't want feeding tubes. And she didn't want to live in a nursing home or any long-term care facilities. And so her family made the choice to do comfort measures and keep her comfortable till her end of time, which was about 3 or 4 days when she finally passed away or died. But that family, they were her voice. The daughters at one point in time said, oh, should we have done this stuff? And I said, you were her voice. She gave you her choice. It's not your choice to make. She gave it to you. You're just expressing her wishes. And by doing that, they got to go home and not have a guilt while they mourned, while they grieved the loss of their mom. Death is always sad. End is always sad. We can't take away the sadness. I don't want to take it away, because the sadness means that you were loved and that there was connection in your life and that you had a well-lived life. But we can take away the pain of not knowing what those wishes were by simply having a discussion with those who will be our voices, who will be the ones that make those choices. So in this video, I'll end it with my choices. Harley, Peter, Raya, Easton, my choice, I don't ever want a trach. I don't want to be on a ventilator. I don't want a feeding tube. Let me go and let me love you from outside my body and around the world. But you don't need to put me through all those extravagant things. Hopefully you can have this conversation with your loved ones. And even if they don't want to hear it, I promise you it's one of the best gifts you can give them in one of the hardest moments they'll ever have to be in.